Deputy Managing Director at the Metro Mass Transit Limited between 2013 and 2015. Engineer Joaza. So, technology is in this house, so the younger ones are part of this, and we're looking forward for them to take us to the future. Mr. Maulolo, that's what you said. Maulolo, that's what I said. Okay, we will ask the panel. Which one is correct? Maulolo. Maulolo. Great. So, Mr. Maulolo Alovo holds a degree in aerospace engineering. Hey! From Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. He received specialized training as an aircraft technician engineer with AirTech Support Services, gaining hands-on experience working on aircraft models including the Boeing 737, Airbus A321, and Airbus A330-300. He currently serves as an aircraft accident investigator with the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau, AIB, where he contributes to enhancing aviation safety through detailed incident analysis and prevention strategy. Hello. We already have a situation for analysis, isn't it? Very good situation for analysis. When you finish, come and tell us the reason for this incident. We investigate. Amazing. So at the end of it, I was talking about the role that Mr. Maulolo is playing at this moment. So, Mr. Alavo, please, your audience. And together with him is another young gentleman with AIB, known as Rodney Sedinamna. Hi, Sedinam. I'm sure Rodney is also in the same capacity as your good self, right? So all the English words I said about Mr. Alowo, he's in the space. Welcome, you're very welcome, gentlemen, to this interesting discussion. We will go quickly to the conversation. So, in our modern world, today, since we realize that hello, I've checked the microphone and it's gone off again. Hello, please help me. I beg, help me. In our modern world, we realize that. Hello? Is it the battery? No, it keeps going off. So let's find out what exactly. Okay. Please, forgive us. Forgive me and the technical people. All of us, forgive us. So in our modern systems, we all understand the role transport plays. And especially now that we are all moving into technology, it is very apparent that we cannot do anything without compliance, without IT, without AI, and all the goodies that is bringing us. Whilst we are seeing the advantages, we also look at what kind of cautions we should bring, or what kind of cautions we should have in its usage. But like I said, I'm a teacher but a student this afternoon, so I would leave the honorable gentleman to guide us through a few questions, and please, we want it to be interactive. So as soon as they finish the first round of questions, I prefer that we do our Q&A and then we go to the second one. The reason is that there are situations where you want to compile the questions, and then, we would have passed it long time ago. Moreover, our time is a bit limited because when it's almost time for closing ceremony, they might round us up. So we will make the best use of time, and so we'll take our questions one after the other. Is that okay for us? Yes. Amazing. So let's start from Vivian. Let's look at how technology can align Ghana's vehicle and rail standards with global norms. For example, when you give us the brief, and then you can put it in your space and explain what you are doing and what we can achieve. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you very much. Road standards are global. They're international. There's no way Ghana can operate a system that fits within the road space outside of acceptable standards. So there are charters that Ghana has assigned itself to. And in accepting those charters, Hello? Okay. Sorry. In the charters we have, as soon as a nation ratifies, in our case, Parliament has to ratify them. You are binded by them. So what you have to do is to find ways to comply. So those become global standards. And so at a certain point, because some have gone ahead of us, we have to measure ourselves against best practices. And DVLA, an institution established as far back the year 1999, consistently has worked within that space. From the beginning, you need a license. You have to hang, it's more like an ID card on your neck. That is what it used to be. But today, you need a card that is biometrically processed, which makes it possible for law enforcement to identify the details of the holder of that card. But then, technology keeps evolving. Aside the card, you must drive a car with a card. Because if the card is for purposes of identification, I'm sure you would have just stuck with your NIE. But you pick a DVLA card because you want to drive. And that registration must equally be within a certain standard defined internationally. So our number plates, for instance, we kept registering and kept changing the mode of registration. But then we are still looking at instances where today's technology, once you drive on the highways, you come across gadgets that are established. The gadgets should be able to communicate with the vehicles and be able to tell who owns it, and if there's an infraction, who should be held responsible. And so, whilst other agencies are building institutions, the licensing authority must equally be sure that the data it holds is a data that can produce real-time results when the data is consulted by the other agencies. And so, we fit rightly within the transport ecosystem, such that our consistent discussions are looking at ways of modernizing the transport sector, especially having to do with the vehicle sector. We have those who deal with rails, we have our brother, those who look into the airspace, and all of that. They are all regulated by certain global standards, which is what Ghana seeks to conform with. Aside that, we are looking forward, coming next year, in response to some of these global requirements, of having a plate system that a person will find it difficult to have a vehicle on the road and will not be identified. Again, as we speak, you do have some challenges without compliance officers on our roads because you have a vehicle that is not within a certain state as is required. For instance, you are required to have a certain level of tint in your car, but technology exists to test and see whether you have gone outside the acceptable standards. And once you are outside of that acceptable standards, we need to take steps to bring you in. And one thing I keep emphasizing is the fact that you can never be on a public road and expect to have privacy on that road, because it's a public space. And whatever you do, others should be concerned about what you are doing, because it may affect them when you finish doing what you are doing. So I'm on a highway driving, and you are equally on the same highway driving towards me. I should have the assurance that once DVLA says the person coming, driving ahead of or against me is a competent driver that we have certified, and you can be sure that we will drive and pass each other safely. That is how we envision this whole agenda. It's the reason for which whatever we do is to weed out people who have not gone through our system, such that once you come into contact with a law enforcement officer, they can tell that this person is not within the DVLA database, and they'll have to deal with you because you are trying to violate traffic regulations. We should understand also that when you pick a number plate of a vehicle, even the dimension of it is not only about DVLA determining it. If you put a vehicle that is, say, a trailer on the road, the dimensions of it is not a matter defined by DVLA. These are matters that we only need to conform. But in the question or the topic we are dealing with critically looks at compliance. We are of the view that as the weakest of all, compliance, as the weakest of all in all the standards, if we have drivers and vehicle owners who obey and buy into the technologies we are bringing in and buy into the fact that it is for the safety of everybody, it becomes easy for compliance because everybody will then comply. Law enforcement will be a bit easier because the person already knows the implication of not staying and working within the space that or the parameters that have been defined. So we at DVLA are mindful, and we are consistently working and bringing in innovative ways, building data and building systems that could interact with, for instance, the MTTD, so that it becomes very easy. For instance, I am told, and again, we actually even had the opportunity of visiting the MTTD, and we can attest to the fact that they have access to systems where if you commit a road traffic offense, you get blocked. Now, DVLA, as we speak, our discussions are going into what we call a point demerit system, where a vehicle owner or a driver who commits certain number of infractions on a road can get punished, your license could be confiscated and you are required to come for training before we return it to you. And all these things can only happen when technology is interactive with the system that we have. And so that leveraging on technology is one thing that we are mindful at, and our consistent engagement. When people come to us, we give them the opportunity to present to us, and we pick the very best that is able to align with our vision and the mandate of DVLA.
A round of applause for Mr. Stephen. DVLA and compliance, you're talking about smart, tools that can communicate with the systems. Integration is a very important thing to look at at the moment, because elsewhere, when you cross a traffic light, you don't have to look around to see whether there is a policeman or not. But you receive your paper. Whether it comes instantly or it comes after a few days, it will still come. And it comes with a photograph of you crossing the red. So there's no way you can say, I didn't do it, and you have just given me a cheat or maybe a payment that I don't deserve. Please, whilst we were speaking, or whilst Mr. Stephen was speaking, we had Mr. Benjamin Nimako, Assistant Manager, Corporate Planning of the Metro Mass Transit, joining us. Mr. Nimako, welcome. Welcome. So you didn't miss much. The first question I passed on to Mr. Stephen was, how can technology align Ghana's vehicle and race standards with global norms? And he's talking about the fact that we have ratified, Ghana, a good with ratification, and Chakurani are ratified. Global, they bring it, no, we ratify, but the implementation has always been the problem. But so you haven't missed much. So the next question I will go on to ask, Engineer, what's the economic payoff for prioritizing safety and efficiency? STC and safety and efficiency, A+. But what has made you an edge over others is safety and compliance and all that. Tell us, how does that accrue in your advantage?
Thank you.
And why should others emulate?
Thank you. So, because of the nature of our operations, we carry lives, and lives matter. If you go to the US, for instance, bus drivers are paid like university professors.
Mm-hmm.
So we invest so much in our drivers, in the training of our drivers, because in the end, the investment pay off. For STC, we believe that safety and efficiency in the operations matters. Now, we do that apart from the training by the deployment of ICT-based systems. We're able to ensure that whatever our buses are, whatever our drivers do in our buses, we are able to track in real time what happens in the bus. So when an accident occurs, unfortunately, we don't depend on third party. We ourselves are able to tell whose fault it was. We have a training school, but every time we deploy our drivers to go to the military, as I speak now, we have about 50 of the drivers first batch for this year who are currently at the Armed Forces Training School. And we do that. They are supposed to be there for 2 weeks. They do both theory and practical. And these are license F holders. But because of the nature of the lives we carry, we invest in the training of the drivers. I don't know. I think that, as you said, other operators in this industry should learn that. It's not magic. We really invest in the training of the drivers. We also invest in technology, because today technology abounds. You sit in a bus and the driver is overspeeding, and sometimes passengers are forced to complain, and if with our technology you are not able to tell whether the passenger was right or wrong, or the driver was. So to cut matters short, we deploy intelligent monitoring systems to monitor the activities of our drivers. So from the back room, the IT department is able to tell when a driver was, we have onboard cameras. When our scanners came, they came with onboard cameras. And that is how it's supposed to be. We also do that not just to monitor the driver, but also the passengers. There are times some drivers are so rude. You will lock the speed limiter in the speed governor. There is a way to lock the speed. Ghana, we don't have motorway now. Our motorway now is no more. So when you drive on a highway, you are not supposed to go more than 80 kilometers. Now sometimes you see that people try to tamper with the speed limiter because the buses come, we are able to have the manufacturer lock it. And occasionally, as part of the work that we do, our engineers go around to inspect each bus to see whether the limiters are still intact. Sometimes drivers want to go quick, and even sometimes the passengers will tell them that, look, please, we want to arrive quickly. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to sit here, and a number of, about 6 questions, people came to ask, say, oh, we like STs, but your buses are slow. Now, I told them that it's better to be late than to be called a late. Because what is the point rushing only to be get involved in an accident and maybe lose your life? So we tell them that lives matter, your life as a driver matters, and the life of the people you carry also matter. So in effect, once we do this investment, madam, you'll be surprised to know that it pays off so much, because you see, the investment in one bus ranges between $200,000 plus. Now, if you don't invest something little to train the drivers, invest something little on IT systems to keep the bus, you not only lose the human beings, you also lose the bus. So it's like giving a driver, one person, a working capital of over $200,000, and you are not investing in that individual. So that is what we do. In the end, we record fewer accidents, we record fewer write-offs, and then it's again a plus to the company. Thank you.
Thank you. Our sound guys. And that hello. A round of applause for engineer, please. Thank you very much. So we understand that it is better to invest in technology, it is better to invest in our drivers than just give them the buses and say go on and take our people home and they don't get home. Yes, so we thank you for giving us some tips, knowing that economic investments pay off when we prioritize safety and efficiency. So I would speak to our young men, but I just want to have an idea, a little bit of what AIB Ghana's role is in aviation and how it influences compliance culture in aviation and what lessons can be applied, so that the vehicle sector will be strengthened and their safety standards will be ensured. I'll go first to Mau, but please let me acknowledge the presence of Mr. John Rumboti, the Acting Commissioner for AIB. Thank you very much, sir. You know what I like about you? You are just my brother. I would have done just exactly what you did today, to ask your younger ones to come and represent you, because he was supposed to be the one sitting here, but he says no, the younger ones should represent him. Thank you very much, sir. That is what we're supposed to do, to empower the younger ones to take over, smoothly after us, isn't it? So now you are a very lucky gentleman with your brother to have such a mentor. So talk to me about this.
Yes, so first of all, thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity to be here to first of all, the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau, mandated by the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau Act 2020, Act 2028, gives us the mandate to investigate, to prevent, to regulate, and to oversee aircraft accidents and incidents in Ghana and for related matters. And the aim of this is to make sure that we provide safety recommendations after our investigations, because first of all, when there's an occurrence, we investigate the occurrence, which is the accident or the incident. We investigate it first, then we identify the safety issues, and based on the issues that have been identified, we are able to give safety recommendations. And the safety recommendations are aimed at ensuring that that particular thing that has happened does not happen again. You know, because no one wants to join an aircraft knowing that an aircraft crashed yesterday, and that's the same kind of aircraft that you are going to join, you know. And the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, which is the international body responsible for regulating civil aviation worldwide, brought the Annex 13, which serves as the standards and recommended practices for aircraft accident investigation, and it also serves as the body or document that gives AIB Ghana birth. Now, this document stipulates that there should be an independent autonomous body responsible for aircraft accident investigation. Why is it important? Now, initially, the investigations were done by the person who is responsible for regulating affairs, which is not the best practice, because born out of this initiative came to birth in 2020, and by the guidance of our new commissioner, we have been able to undergo trainings, all in the bid to promote our competence, to make sure that we are able to do this work very well. Why? Because it is important to assure the people that are joining the various aircraft that if there is even an incident, there are very competent, very skilled people who are going to find out why. That is why right now Ghana has one of the highest scores, because we make sure that there are competent people to do the investigations. And why is all this important? How does this tie to compliance? In the 1980s and in the late 20th century, there were a lot of incidents, there were a lot of accidents that were happening. Some of them which I know are prominent. One of them is the 9/11 incident, where there were aircrafts crashing into. And there are lots. There are a lot of accidents and incidents that were happening. But through all this, it was realized that we are not complying to something, and that is why something is going wrong. And what is it that we are not complying to? They realized that if in the olden days, you know that it's not like now that there's a lot of security when you get to the airport. You know that any one of us could just get up and enter an aircraft, and so far as we have passport, you can just enter the aircraft. The security was not that rigid, you know. And there were times in the olden days where a pilot, because of his state, his physical state, or even his mental state, he could lock himself. For example, he's having a bad day, but you don't know because he's smiling. And so you could enter the cockpit, sit down, take off, and then when one goes to the washroom, the other one will just lock the door, and then he will crash into a mountainous terrain with the rest of the passengers. And you get there only to realize that from the recordings or whatever information you were able to collect that, it is the pilot who was responsible. And all this is because of the investigation. So the investigations help us to understand that even when it comes to the flight crew, those who are in the cockpit, they have to even amend some of the examinations they go through. Example, mental examination.
Exactly. I was just
So now it becomes clear that the aviation ecospace, you have to comply to even certain mental examination standards. If you are not meeting that standard, then you are not fit. It's sad that you are not meeting the standard, but if that standard isn't met, what gives us the confidence that you can be responsible for the lives on board?
Yeah.
You know, it is clear that investigations, and it is investigations that bring out all these things. Because without the investigation, how do you know that the pilots did something like this? So the investigations bring out all these problems, which serves as the bedrock or serves as the foundation for us to build on the compliance structures to make sure that things are streamlined. So that when you go and sit in an aircraft, you don't have to worry about safety. Why? Because someone is worried about it for you. When you are getting on the aircraft, you don't have to think twice. Why? Because someone is thinking twice for you. You know, so the AIB mandated by the Act and our regulations, which is the LI 24A3, and the mother document from ICAO, which is the Annex 13, as well as other important documents, all give us this understanding to help us build compliance, to make things streamlined and safe for everyone. To just summarize it, in relation to the rail and to the road, you know, being in the aviation industry, it's not really easy to be talking about the road and the rail, because in the air there's no road and there's no rail lines. So it's not, so bear with me. I'll do my best to tie it for your understanding based on how I understand it. You know, I understand that it is not in the interest of DVLA for accidents to happen, for people to get accidents on the road. It is not in the interest of STC for accidents to happen. And you can even hear from their submissions that they make sure, as the STC presented, that they make sure that their drivers are trained. They make sure that the engineers do checks. And all this is in bed to ensure that there's safety and then compliance is also upheld. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Alovo. Thank you so much. I will skip you, Sydney, and go to Mr. Nimakun. I'll come back to you, Sydney, because we will be building on what your colleague has just said. So, Mr. Nimakun, we are looking today at from compliance to where we comply, we become strengthening vehicle and rail standards and safety through technological innovations. That's what we are discussing now. So let me know, how can PPP accelerate innovation in transport regulation? For example, if MetroMass goes into PPP now, how can we to accelerate innovation in transport regulation? Is it possible? If yes, how would it accrue to our benefits?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, and I'd like to once again apologize for my bit of lateness. In terms of PPP arrangements, you know, PPP is more like a shared cost. You don't bear the cost yourself. And in terms of technology, if I might say, if you want to go the smart way, it's very expensive, though life also matters. And then, first and foremost, our situation is not so much from that of STC. MetroMass itself currently is running the SMART program. We have a control room. We have dashboard cameras in our buses that monitors both the passengers and then the drivers. I think in one of our dashboard images that was captured, there was an incident on the Accra-Winneba Road, which even road safety uses it as its campaign and then advocacy. So I think the introduction of the technology in our buses and art is the way forward, if I should say. But like I said earlier on, it's very expensive to go the technological way. So partnering it with other investors, I think it's in the best interest of the company and then Ghana as well. And then in terms of compliance also, we do pre-monitoring checks on our buses every morning before they are routed. We also have a software which is called the fleet management software. This software monitors our buses based on the period at which these buses are supposed to go for maintenance. You know, we have maintenance A, maintenance B, and then maintenance C. And then, you know, with this form of maintenance, we get to know the strength and then the ability and capability of these buses as to whether they are fit for purpose and then fit for our routes. If not, these buses are grounded one way or the other, or they are strengthening through the use of technological ways. And then one other thing in terms of safety and then compliance we do is, in terms of training our drivers, I think we have an arrangement with MTTD, even STC in training our drivers, which is a form of partnership, if I should say. Aside our drivers in defensive driving, we also do screen checks, medical screen checks on our drivers to see if they are fit to continue driving these buses mentally and then even physically. If it is deemed that medically you are not that fit, you are taken through medical health procedures, and then you are reassigned not to drive passengers on our roads. So that is one of, and in this health screening, we also partner with some of these health facilities and then even with some of these hospitals. So I think partnership is the best way to go if you want to cut down costs. And in doing partnership also, it's like a form of advertisement to other organizations, making them come into the limelight. You know, you can't do business and then advertise in the dark. You should be known everywhere, either globally or locally. So I think PPP is the best way to go if you want to save costs. So I'll conclude by saying that Metromass is doing its best to make sure that we continue to provide affordable and reliable services to the people of Ghana. And to also conclude, Metromass is also trying to make sure we go by the 24-hour service, which we are currently doing. And then we are also making sure that we reset the company, because in times back, it was in a very deplorable state. But currently, as I'm speaking, though we are routing very few buses, we are making more money than even we were routing some years back. So I think we are now resetting. That is all I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Numakun. Thank you for giving us some tips on PPP, the advantages, and also how it will help us reset the Metromass system or Metromass agenda. I'll still skip you, Sedinam and Sydney, and then we will have our first round of questions so that we don't forget what we want to ask. And when we come for the second round, please, the questions should be very brief, to the point, so that we can get the answers from, and please direct your question to a specific person so that we can, you can get the answer from the right person instead of us throwing it around. Are we okay? On the same page? I didn't hear anything. Are we okay? All right, great. So I saw your hand up, sir. If you can come this way, it will help the cameraman. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Good
and
afternoon.
Thank you very much for a nice presentation and moderation. My first comment has to do with a form of commendation. I wish to commend the STC, the outfit. In fact, this program has called my mind to something. I hardly personally see road crashes that involve STC. Seriously, it has called my mind to something when it comes to the buses traveling outskirts of Accra, and I will encourage everyone here to patronize it. As he said, it's better to be late than ahead.
To be far late.
Yes, but my second comment will be a bit controversial. And it goes to my brother DVLA. I don't know whether it is DVLA or it is the police. The behavior on our streets is becoming alarming, and the number of road crashes we are experiencing these days is becoming something else. To the extent that these days, when I'm traveling from Accra to any other part of any other region, in fact, mentally, I'm not okay. Frankly speaking, I'm just not okay. So my issue is it not that is DVLA not delaying in assisting a situation or a system where miscreants on the road or motorists who do not comply will have the instant, fine, and or you have information about him crossing red light, so that at least some of these things will be advertised if possible. You see, Ghanaians, one thing I've observed about Ghanaians, we don't like the police court. We don't like anything concerning court. And if possible, advertise. There are thousands of radio stations in Ghana, or hundreds of radios. Some, if you give them information about people who misbehave on the road, as in motorists, they will be ready to mention the names of all these people. If they get up in the morning, one of their programs will be to mention the names of people who misbehave on the road. And this is what Ghanaians don't like. Okay. So I will entreat you. My question to you is the difference between incidents and what? Accidents. Because I've realized that you mentioned incident, accidents, so many things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for. It's very important that when you are having a conversation like this and the audience pick points and express themselves in this manner, it means that the information really was well passed on. Thank you very much for your questions and commendations. Of course, STC is a commendation, so you don't have anything to say, but we all want to applaud you for a great job. Continue to do that. But DVLA.
Yes. DVLA, you know, when you look at the transport sector, there is a multi-sectorial collaboration. So, for instance, you have DVLA, which does the licensing of drivers and then registration of vehicles. Then we have the Motor Department of the Ghana Police Service, which is the MTTD. Then we have the National Road Safety in there, all with different mandates at the same time. But it gets to a point where the mandate of DVLA and that of the MTTD comes into a bit of conflict if you look at it from afar. DVLA's mandate is to ensure that a vehicle meets a certain condition to be on the road. So that condition comes in with testing and certifying and giving you a roadworthy that you are qualified to be on the road. DVLA has a team called a compliance team who goes out, and when they go out, they try to be sure the vehicle complies with the requirement to qualify to be on the road. Any other road infraction falls under the MTTD. So DVLA will tell you that they are charging you for delinquency because you have sat down, a requirement you are supposed to meet, the time has passed, and you have not done it. So if you come to DVLA to renew your license, for instance, and the license has expired or the renewal had passed for like 2-3 months ago, we will charge you because the assumption is that even upon the expiration of that card, you were still driving. So we'll punish you. And the punishment is so close to you working and paying for that service and going. It should be deterrent so that you can't say, this is something I can just pay and I can pay like 10-20 times before I meet the cost of that renewal. So it is so close that it is better to just work and renew it. That is one. Then, when you commit, in fact, at the previous session that they had at the other side, the police had shown evidence where messages have been developed and sent to over 2,000 drivers who have committed infractions. It pre-informs them of a certain technology that is coming.
Coming up, yeah.
That is on the road. That the next time you commit such an infraction, you get notice. But again, it is the reason for which I indicated that DVLA is responding ahead with the introduction of a new number plate. Now, the technology we are dealing with currently has to do with the road frequency identification devices, which is the RFID devices. Here we are, you have a chip that is embedded in the number plate that is given to you, which you don't have any idea where it is embedded. And there are the RFID scanners mounted on the highways, such that as you pass, your information is picked. So, with that data being available, when you buy a car, you are expected to register the vehicle. Every detail of that vehicle is in your name. When you decide to sell off that vehicle, there's a duty on you. Because if you fail to transfer the vehicle, every infraction will be recorded in your name. But the prototype of messages the police showed did indicate that if you are not the owner of that vehicle, go to DVLA for them to amend your record. That's the messages that are going on now. But what we are doing, looking forward, is that from 2026, when you walk in to register a car, that number plate is customized. If you say customized, not because it contains your name, but that number plate is registered specifically with your details, such that when you are selling the car, you are required to take off that plate. As soon as you come and inform DVLA of that transfer, the new person who is taking over the vehicle will be registered and given a plate that is linked to that particular vehicle again. So your plate that you've taken off the vehicle is dysfunctional. When you mount it on another car, when you pass through traffic, the system cannot record you. It will reject you. So to show that this vehicle that has passed is not recorded in the system. So we have a phenomenon where people go to what do you call it, mechanical shops, see a vehicle that has been involved in an accident. They can see that this vehicle is not coming back to the road anytime soon. They pull off the plates and mount it on the stolen vehicle. And we don't have a system that can easily check it. It's the reason we are coming in with this new technology. You come in with 10 vehicles, which are personal cars to you. You are required, we can register and give you those 10 multiple plates. But anytime any of those cars is not functioning because you have sold it off, that plate is disabled. In fact, we are even discussing who should be in possession of that plate.
Whether it should refund.
Whether it should be with DVLA or it should be with the individual. Those discussions are ongoing. Because we are also exposed to the point that if you take off the plate because you say you have no car, it should be with us. So that when you are ready and you have another car, you come in, you register the vehicle and pay for everything, but you will not pay for a plate. All we have to do is to reconnect that number plate to the new car you brought. It picks your new details and aligns with that car. So when you commit a road infraction, you can get a text indicating that you have a bill to pay for infraction, which falls under the Ghana Police. So you see how we are doing the integration with the Ghana Police system. So ours is to build a database and to provide customers with services that can help other enforcement agencies to detect who specifically to be billed for road infractions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for that very informative response. So I'll go to you. For you to answer the question, amazing. Please go ahead. Difference between incidents and accidents. Yes.
Hello. First of all, thank you all for this. So now to answer the question, what is the difference between an accident and an incident? First off, both an accident and an incident are aircraft occurrences. What are aircraft occurrences? Aircraft occurrences are events that involve an aircraft, any type of event that involves an aircraft. Now, we have three types of aircraft occurrences. We have the accident, we have serious incidents, and then we have incidents. So now to explain what each of them mean. An accident is an aircraft occurrence that occurs when the aircraft is, or when the occurrence that happened or that took place involves one, a loss of life or fatality, or two, loss of the aircraft or damage to any part of the aircraft. So no matter the part of the aircraft that was lost, so far as there was a loss of parts or damage to a part of the aircraft, it is an aircraft accident. Then we have the serious incident. Serious incident is similar to the the accident. However, the serious incident, though almost serious as the accident, for some reason,
There's no loss.
there was no fatality or there was no damage to the aircraft, or there was no loss of life in general. However, the probability of that accident happening was very high. So sometimes someone might say it's by chance that it did not happen. So that's the difference between accident and serious incident. Now, when it comes to incident is any minor aircraft that is any minor occurrence that involves an aircraft. So now the probability of that leading to an accident is low. However, if it is not checked immediately and as soon as possible, it might lead to an accident. That's if we are not lucky, or if by some chance it does not lead to a serious incident and it goes straight to an accident. So incident is the least of them, or is the minor occurrence. However, if that is not checked, it might lead to an accident, and then that will not be good for the industry. Serious incident is an occurrence that happens, it involves an aircraft with a high probability of leading to an accident but did not lead to that accident. An accident is any aircraft occurrence that involves the loss of life or damage to an aircraft. Simply.
Wonderful. Sydney, that's some education here. That's a real education. So would you call an overrun, like a tarmac overrun, as incident or accident? Because it wouldn't have crashed, it wouldn't have damaged the body of the aircraft, there wouldn't be any incident of, human fatality. So how would you call an offshoot of a tarmac?
Well, you see, one thing that we should all know is that every aircraft occurrence is unique. So with the scenario you just created, it depends actually on the outcome. So if it didn't hit anyone, we might classify that as an incident. But for example, recently there was a crash, exactly how you described, in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong International Airport. An aircraft skidded off the runway, like they landed long off the runway.
Yes.
Yeah, so they crossed over and then they crashed into a patrol vehicle, an airport security patrol vehicle, killing 2 of the security officers.
So that becomes fatality.
That becomes fatality, so that is an aircraft
All right.
accident.
Okay.
It's unfortunate, but
I understand.
when these things happen, we then need to, that's when we come in, AIP, to investigate, to find out what happened, and then we make sure that such occurrences do not happen again.
Amazing. Sir, Commissioner, would you want to give an icing on the cake for us? I can see that you are admiring your young men.
Very much.
Yes, please.
You see, sometimes these things are very technical.
Yes.
And so when they occur, we have what we call classification team.
Yes.
They will then sit down, categorize them. This one is an accident or an incident. You understand? Like he said, if it skips off the road, if something happens, then it becomes an accident, like he said. But the skipping of the road is not just enough for you to decide whether it's an accident or an incident. But let me quickly add this one. People keep on asking, but you people in Ghana, we don't have accident. What are you people do? You have nothing to do. Because we have something doing. That's why you don't get accidents. We don't allow that to happen. I'm so happy about what my brother said in their industry. You see, it is better to prevent it. As they say, they train the people. So we are doing much of the prevention bit. Doesn't occur. But let me also quickly say this. We in the industry, we bought planes so almost every day. So we would never do anything on top of that to kill us. So we are always there that the right that because every day we are on board. I don't know why I can't have done. Every day we are on board. So we check the place well for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, boss. So I think the questions are okay now. So we can, officer, do you want to ask a question? Or we'll wait till, okay. Thank you very much. So we will go on to our next round. We will finish very soon, but I am enjoying the conversation and the education actually. So until they say we should go, maybe we should just keep on going. And then you keep on educating us. Let's talk about DVLA. Let's talk about what digital systems can do to enhance compliance and monitoring. I know that, for example, STC now has onboard cameras. Metromas has onboard cameras. I know that now you pass by a tower, you see, people don't know what exactly it is. Maybe you should tell us what systems have you put into the mainstream, and how can this help compliance?
Okay, thank you once again. At DVLA, there have been a lot of activities. For those who have owned vehicles before a couple of years ago, you realize that when you require your vehicle documentation, you only get a physical file to that effect. What we did was to do what we call the onboarding system, where we realized it was important to digitalize those files. And then subsequently, they become available for anybody who require them, even including the vehicle owners. Then, like I raised again, the licensing regime equally had seen a lot of transformation. But then, a lot can still be done. Currently, as it stands, you still require your physical presence at DVLA before you can get a card, a driver licensing card. And the reason simply is, for every system that requires to take your biometrics, you can't do it when you are not physically present. But before you begin that process, our online platforms allows anybody to go online and begin the process. Now, one of the major transformations which government had brought in was to compel everybody who seeks to drive to go through appropriate training and get certification before you come in to begin the process. Even if you walk to us and begin with the process, it truncates at a point and waits for you to go and do your training and get certification before we continue with the process and give you a license. Previously, anybody could just walk to any DVLA office, and then the service is delivered, you get a license and you move on. Now, because of that requirement, everybody is supposed to identify a training school, because that also ties in within the private partnership with DVLA. Even though we have a mandate, that mandate, we realize that it is not everything we could do. That goes in again when it comes to even the testing of vehicles. If you go around, you realize that DVLA does not have established equipment that does vehicle testing. That portion has also been given out to the private partners so that they can help in ensuring that they align. But when it comes to ensuring that they qualify and adhere to standards, those standards are set up by DVLA. So the training schools, the manuals and everything and what they are supposed to do, they are enforced by DVLA, because we have the mandate to determine a person's qualification to that effect. And then, like I said earlier, you could see where we are driving at, that vehicle registration becomes a seamless exercise that provides and captures data. And that exercise is simply to allow for immediate response. So we can identify an individual, deal with you, remove you from the system because you are a danger and a threat to the survival of the rest. That's very important. Because like I keep emphasizing, I don't want to buy a car and look at the reasoning around it. When you walk to me, for instance, and say, oh, Steve, give me a license because you are a friend. Yesterday I had an incident here. I met a friend who, in the discussion, if another friend came in and said, oh, I need a license, help me. And the friend was like, Steve, you want him to help you with the license? He won't do it. And I said, that is what it is. Because even my chief executive will never be happy to hear that I sit in the office and grant a license to someone without going through the process. Reason simply is that I could buy my latest, all these cars that were displayed here. And I could have given a license to someone who doesn't know how to drive. And when I was caught by traffic and I obeyed, he is coming from behind me. And instead of applying brakes, he didn't know where the brake is and he accelerated. He has destroyed my car. So if you see such an instance so far away from you, you won't do the right thing. But when you see such incidents to be very close to you, that you could be the next, that the infraction you had endorsed would affect, you do what is right. So we are focused typically on dealing with some of these matters. Currently in discussion, you know, when you need an international driver permit, for those of you who drive outside, it's a booklet that you are given, and it's a handwritten booklet that you'll be given. When you look at ISO requirements, it doesn't mean that standard. Designs are done. Very soon, we will seek all stakeholder approval and engagement on that. We are converting that system into a biometric system. So you have a card that looks just like a passport, where when you travel out and you say that, look, I have this international permit issued by Ghana Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, any system to be able to verify it. Just like someone from the UK who comes to Ghana and says, I want to convert my license into a Ghanaian license, we go through the system to test and see that that person actually has a system registered in the UK. We should have the same system here where other countries can interact. We are working at that. The same applies to the vehicle permit as well. You need an international vehicle permit to move outside of Ghana. It also was one of the handwritten. We are converting that also into a digitalized system where it helps. So for the purpose of having a seamless interactive system, these are some of the things we are doing at DVLA to improve the safety and compliance of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Stephen. Thank you so much. So we will go to engineer. Do you have anything to add to the same question? I know that your systems are in place now, but what else is not available that you think, because we are now doing all this for policy backing, you know that. At the end of the day, our report is also going back to government to say, we have done A, we have done B, but we need to do C to get there. We all want to get there. We want to ensure the safety of our, our passengers. We want to be sure that people trust the services that we are going to give them, etc., etc. And then we request for, political will and government backing. Where do we place this so policy absorbs whatever we are requesting? What else do you want to do as STC so that you know that your compliance and safety systems are in place?
Thank you. I will say is that if you look at the nature of our operations and that of Metro Mass, we virtually have the intelligent transport systems. And this includes the automated fare collection systems and then the deployment of telematics. The telematics will let you address the issue of driver behavior, address the issue of real-time location of the bus, what the bus is doing, and so on and so forth. Now, but we are just a small percentage of the industry players. Majority of the bus operators are private owners. Now, what I would like to see or to suggest for your medium to take up to government is to get the National Road Safety Authority to be up in doing. We need now to have in the industry a centralized system that we have an integration of all this, because we are looking at the safety of the Ghanaians. And if we do it, and we are just a small percentage, and the majority of the people who carry passengers are the private operators, then it comes to nothing. Now, the regulator for the road industry, in fact and indeed, is the National Road Safety Authority. If you take the air, civil aviation is a regulator. If you take the railway, it's the Railway Development Authority. And if you take the maritime, the marine, is a Ghana Maritime Authority, even though Ghana Ports and Harbors is big, but the regulator indeed is Ghana Maritime Authority. They are the regulators for the marine industry. Now, so we need, for me, to get National Road Safety Authority to try and also develop this kind of intelligence system at the central point where they can rope in the private operators. Because look at the size of GPRT, look at the size of OE, look at the size of VIP, and all the other operators who are not deploying intelligence systems. It becomes difficult to be able to be assured of the safety of the Ghanaian commuter. So I think that what I would suggest is if we can, they started something, but I don't know the state of it, National Road Safety Authority. So if the state can, or the government can kind of support them to really play the role of a regulator, I think that will inure to the safety of all Ghanaians. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate engineer. So our next question to our honorable young gentleman, and I think this time around, Sydney, you can take it, is what ways can investigation findings be turned into design and regulatory innovations across industries? So you've done your investigations. You found whatever it is that caused the incident or the accident. How do we turn that into design that would support the system in future so that, like your colleague said, it won't happen again? But not just not happen again, giving us all that kind of assurance that, yes, it happened some years ago, but don't expect it to happen again because we'll find ways around it. How do you talk about it?
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, just as my colleague said, the main aim of our investigations is to provide safety recommendations that we don't have regulatory, we don't have the mandate to regulate. That is, just as engineer said, the job of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. So when we get our safety recommendations after our investigations, we send them to the Civil Aviation Authority and they implement those recommendations. So they ensure that the various aviation industry players carry those recommendations out. So one way that we can link that to technology is there's something we call the design feedback loop. So when we get our findings from the investigations, and then new aircraft, so every year, new aircrafts are being made, new aircrafts are being manufactured, because that is also the business of the aircraft manufacturers. So based on the recommendations that we've issued out of the, as a result of the findings from our investigations, the manufacturers incorporate these recommendations into their new aircraft. So just as my colleague said earlier, that's citing the 9/11 incident. Well, that was a procedure. However, it was a security procedure. So based on that, they improved upon the checks that one goes through before he or she boards an aircraft to avoid situations like that. Now, bringing this to technology, in the 1980s, there were a lot of occurrences. So that's controlled flight into terrain. It's a bit technical, so I wouldn't go much into it because of time. However, that is when the flight crew, they are not aware of the proximity to the ground. So due to that, you end up hearing of crashes. Yes, exactly.
The time left and all that.
Exactly that. So due to that, and out of investigations that are rule safety recommendations, they developed the ground proximity warning system. So this way, when you are landing or you are coming to touchdown, those systems, those technological systems, they alert you. So if you've watched any aircraft movie or flight movie, you hear maybe 500 meters, 400 meters. So as you keep getting close, then it's telling you. So that also helps inform. So based on our recommendations, we have this design feedback loop that goes back to the manufacturers and all other industrial players, and then they incorporate that into their operations and then make the airspace safe for everyone.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. So, Mr. Nimako, are you enjoying the conversation so far?
Very much. It's been very insightful and educative. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Your question actually is very similar to what Engineer and Stephen answered. So how can technology reshape Ghana's public transport image? But this time around, we would also look at it regionally. You know, now they give awards. Best airline, best transport systems, and it's not just localized. These days we have it internationally. Best Africa airline, and then they will say AWA. We are all happy, isn't it? How do we position ourselves in such a way that MetroMass can be considered very soon as one of the best localized transportation systems in Africa, for example? So as we are looking at it, how technology can reshape our public systems, we can also look at how our image will look like regionally.
All right, thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to state the vision of MetroMass. That is where MetroMass wants to be. We want to be the preferable choice as a transport company in the sub-region. That's our vision.
Great.
But then we should start locally.
Yeah.
First and foremost, our target is to be part of the Club 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is where we want to be locally.
To club to that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Great.
Yes, yeah. But then it all deals with safety. That is key. You know, when your vehicle, your safety, the level of safety is at a minimal, it gives you or it dents your image, because just one crash alone can shut down a transport company in terms of compensation and whatnot. And you know, when there's a crash and a victim is lost, many a times a whole community suffers. In certain situations, it's like breadwinners are gone, and the repercussions are there in terms of the families they leave behind. Though MetroMass is there to provide affordable transport, because currently our strength is providing affordable transport to the people of Ghana. Our fares are cheaper, between 15 and 25% as compared to other operators. Currently, in terms of our fares, we charge 75 cedis going to Kumasi air-conditioned buses. Other operators are charging 120, 140 Ghana cedis. So that's our strength. But we want to go beyond affordability. We want Metro Mass to be the people's choice. So currently what we are doing is we are, aside providing mass transit, we are introducing new fleets, that is mixed fleets, which can serve the, excuse me to say, the contemporary term. The businessmen, they come, I think STC has already taken the lead with these urbans and then these coastal buses. Metro Mass also wants to go in that direction so that we can serve variety of purposes to the people of Ghana. So like we are saying, we want to be where, as our vision states, to be part of Club 100, and then in going forward to also provide services within the sub-region of Ghana, and who knows. And then there's one more thing that I'd want to add to the road transport system in terms of regulatory authorities. You know, in elsewhere, you can't just buy a taxi or a bus today and then register it and then you're on our roads. Even the driver has to go through vigorous trainings and even courses for months. But in Ghana, I can just buy a vehicle today and then tomorrow I'm good to go. I start making my money. So I'll plead to the authority. I don't want to mention names. I just plead to the authority to be very vigilant when it comes to public transport system. Because unlike the aircrafts and then the sea, you can't just buy a helicopter or whatever and then start flying. Done. So we want a situation whereby in going for probably in the long term, that same can be done to vehicles on our roads. I think it will also help curb these accidents, because sometimes it's not your fault. Who knows what the driver, the kind of training he has been to have and to make sure these, excuse me to say, these, you know, there's something we call defensive driving, and it isn't every time that you can be so defensive. So we are pleading to the regulatory authorities that in going forward, they should make sure that the situation whereby someone buys a vehicle today and the following day he or she is good to go to make the money, I think at least it is kept. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I like the idea that the integration, I like the idea of the technology, you know, introduction of technology into the systems. And I like the fact that gradually we are all looking at, you know, a better situation where transport, you know, services are trusted and believed in more than any time before. And the honorable young man also talked about, you kept on saying aircraft, but I was also replacing vehicles in whatever you were saying, because that's your field, you are concentrating there. But when you are talking about compliance, when you are talking about technology infusion, when you are talking about incidents, accidents, they are all, it cuts across whatever we are discussing here. So it's very important that we also assimilate. We also see it as something that you are talking to us all about. Thank you all very much. It's been a very good round. Yes, you want to add some, please do. And then please prepare for the next round of questions, so that we can feel that we are being educated. Thank you.
I just want to make something little contribution on the regional integration bit.
Yes, please.
The reason I was insisting that our team can support the National Road Safety Authority. If in Ghana we have that authority being positioned well in terms of deployment of ICT-based systems, then I know that in Nigeria, for instance, the group is also responsible for, like DVLA, they are also responsible. DVLA and road safety were one. In the early days, I think 1999, that they decoupled the Vehicle Examination Licensing Division. So in 1999, DVLA was decoupled and National Road Safety also went one side. But they used to be one. So if you go to other jurisdictions, they are one. So if we are able to have the National Road Safety Authority positioned well in terms of the digitization, in terms of deployment of ICT-based systems, and within the sub-region, they also have a similar thing, then interoperability of our operations can be integrated easily.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. Because it's like similar to when the telco started. You had people holding 4 phones or 3 phones because they couldn't communicate. MTN couldn't communicate with Vodafone. Vodafone couldn't communicate with Airtel and that kind of. So, but because of interoperability in the telecommunication industry, now you just have one phone and you can navigate in all the networks. In the same way, if within each country we have a regulator who is able to position well in terms of proper ICT-based systems in the deployment, in the operation of transport, then integration becomes a bit easier. So then you can travel from Ghana to Nigeria, Ghana to Ivory Coast effortlessly, and they can always check your background. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. There will be a few more questions, just a few more questions where we kept back. But who wants to start with a question and answer session? Okay, sir, please stand here for us so that the cameras can capture you.
My question goes to DVLA. In fact, I appreciate the technology that it is bringing into the system. The driver vehicle or the transport system or the industry is very huge globally. So bringing in technology will help everybody. However, as much as DVLA want to bring in technology for compliance, for regulatory purposes and other things, I was just sitting down thinking about the cost. Yesterday, I tried here, trying to replace my lenses. The cost given to me, I went back, it was today that I was able to compete. As much as I want to go technological, please, how far has DVLA thought of cost so that if the cost is high, they pave way for this, other people, the Go boys, somebody not having a license, trying to find a way to outwit the system. That's what I wanted to.
Thank you very much. That's a very, very important question. I'm sure you've asked the question for a lot more people. And the answer will go to solve somebody's, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You will.
Cost. To be frank with you, there's no Guru boy who will charge you a fare or a fee lesser than what DVLA charges. No matter what you do, if that Guru boy is delivering to you authentic service, what happens with DVLA is that there's no cost or fee we charge without approval from Parliament. So for DVLA, all we can do is to propose fees based on the inputs. And that is supposed to be submitted to the Ministry of Transport. This ministry, after going through it, after DVLA comes in to defend the fees and proposed charges, ferry the same through the Finance Ministry. The same process of defending why should we charge this on the Ghanaian, what are the inputs and everything. It gets to Parliament, and then it is referred to the Select Committee, either Finance, Road, Transport, and then it gets approved. So on most of the things we do, in fact, everything we do, when it comes up and we say, oh, we want to charge this, Director of Finance will say, Parliament will have to first approve of it.
Approve it.
But we need to appreciate the fact that technology, which we are deploying, with the purpose of having the safety of everybody, that safety is more expensive than any amount of money you will use. But then, I want to emphasize, DVLA, you see, if you come for a license, you are a privileged person, you know that. License is not a right, you know that. That's why when you come in and you fail, we can deny you. It is a privilege to hold one. And those who drive outside of this country are aware. To acquire a license in the United Kingdom is not a joke.
It's not easy.
Yes. And it's not cheap at all. But in Ghana, Parliament gives us that approval. Until that is done, whatever technology we bring in, nothing. And you could, I'm sure you've seen the designs, especially with our number plates and all of those things we are bringing up, the new ones. All these things are done in-house, no cost to anybody. When we roll it out, we only charge what Parliament says is appropriate to charge. And we have representation in Parliament, and they defend, or they, in fact, the kind of battle we go through there to get approvals for some of these things is not an easy thing. So that's all I would have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So let's do our next round of questions. Yes, my lady.
Thank you very much, our resource persons. My question has to do with the...
If you stand here for us, we'll be happy so that they don't move the cameras.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Is this okay?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Appreciate.
My question has to do with the motorbikes on the road. We are talking about the vehicles and then the things we are putting in place to make sure that people are safe. The vehicle can be safe, but the motorbike can constitute nuisance as well, and we see them every day. So I want to find out, what are we doing to also put checks on them, one, and to also make sure that we track them as we are trying to do for the other vehicles. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think this one goes to DVL.
DVL.
Right? So the new number plates applicable to all forms of transport, vehicles, motorbikes, aboboya, what's the name of the one? Plagia, and all those who have come to invade us.
Yes. Okay, so we know that the focus of this government is to commercialize motor vehicles, motorbikes. The government is committed. And in this space, DVLA has an input. Or, if government decides this is my policy, DVLA must respond to it. On every motor vehicle you see today is a plate that is blue, whether it is commercial or private. We are seeking to distinguish between the two. The point and the difficulty sometimes in dealing with this currently is that because it has not been commercialized, there's no regulation to make an enforcement. Otherwise, an agency will be endorsing something that the government itself has not legalized. When that exercise is done, we'll distinguish between commercial motorbikes and private motorbikes. So you will still have the private ones going with a white plate and those commercial going with the yellow plate. We are changing from the blue. So that when you stop a bike and it says it's commercial, it is possible to trace them to a specific destination. You see the ride-hailing apps, the Uber and others, when they pick you and they move, there's a track. Same technology will be brought in, and this would have to be a multi-stakeholder engagement. Like I'd say, we have a limit as to what we can do, and then the rest is taken over by the police as well. Road safety equally has a role to play over there. So this multi-sectorial conversation will be had. But from our point, we think that it is best as a starter to distinguish between a person who is riding a bike as a commercial bike or someone who is doing the same thing as a private one. So that when we see you and you pick someone, we should be able to monitor and know. If you have and again, even within the you know that when our driver card, your license card, when a police officer stops you, he knows the kind of car you are supposed to drive with it. And even you as an individual, the state in which you must be. So if you are expected to use glasses at the time of driving, when they stop you, they can tell. And then they caught you driving without the aid of a glasses, those dangers. So a lot is happening in here, but more engagement so that we stop some of these nuisance. And again, we have district assemblies, we have metropolitan assemblies. They all have to come up with certain bylaws that ensure some discipline so that you can have a certain space where commercial bikes or commercial bikes may not be able to go, so that we can reduce some of the nuisance we see on our roads. As much as we want people to engage in commercial activities, it must not also become a nuisance to us where it impedes that economic drive that we seek to drive.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Please, are you satisfied with the answer? Amazing. Yes, sir. We're just about to wrap up. We are just about to wrap up.
Okay, thank you. I think with what you just said, it's laudable, but I think we can take it a top notch with the district assembly. I want to make a proposal to them. I think I met around Kaswa, the stretch that leads to Barrier. I saw an Okada riders, and it looks like they are in uniform. So you get to see them invest, no matter where they are coming from the distance. So it draws your attention that this is part of them. So maybe we can look at that. And then maybe the number plate, because of where it says with Okada, we don't have it in front like you are driving a vehicle. So with their uniform, we can have their numbers. So that in case of any incident, you can quickly pick the number as they drive away. I think that is also something we can look at and give thank you.
Okay, I think that's a very good suggestion.
Yes.
Very, very good suggestion.
I'm still concerned about the carnage on the road. Some people describe our roads as a slaughterhouse. Last time, some institutions described what is currently happening on our road as a pandemic or so. Road crashes is always on the ascendancy. I don't know whether I should blame DVLA, National Road Safety Authority, or NTTD. I don't know which one to blame. So whenever there is crash, in your submission, I realized at a point in time you were talking about the linkage between the car number and the owner of the vehicle. I don't know whether you have, there is this integration of Ghana card into the BIOS of the, what do you call it, card. I don't know whether you have done that. But I am looking forward to seeing a day where if someone happens to be careless on our road for the first time, depending upon the level of crash, he will cease to drive to the extent that, if possible, his card is linked to his Momo account, whereby even Momo transactions, he cannot do Momo transactions. I'm looking forward to a situation whereby if he is using, he cannot even go to the bank to do certain transactions, and that will make him or her to report himself to the police or to DVLA. Then you will be dealt with according to the law. So that I think with things like this, the road crashes on our road might come to a halt or reduce to some measurable level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we should bring this to a close, and I'll give our honorable gentlemen just 1 minute each. Some of the lessons and cross-sector lessons from accident investigations could improve safety learnings from everyone. When it reaches you, maybe you can just touch on that 1 minute. Mr. Yeah? So let's start from, okay, you just spoke. So let's start from my honorable gentleman, Mr. Nimako. Just 1 minute, give us your wrap-up, and then let us know what's your way forward for this discussion and what you seek to, get out of this for Metro Mass, please.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I think this panel discussion has been very informative, very incisive, and then very educative, because until Stephen spoke, I never knew what DVLA was doing, even though we are still an agency under the transport ministry. I think kudos to them. And I know we as operators are ready to support them in whatever they do. We'll make sure we continue to provide safe transport to the people of Ghana. And then with, for us, Metro Mass, I think there's something we call the trainer's trainer. So whatever information I have heard here, if they don't get it through social media, I think meetings can be held with our various drivers and then other staff to educate them on what I have learned from this panel discussion. And then I also want to thank AIB also for the good work they are also doing. I think those that are incidents or accidents that are acts of nature, I think they are doing their very possible best to make sure that as human as we are, they try to control it and limit it. You know, when it comes to technology, no matter how advanced you are, definitely incidents are bound to happen. Even in the Western world, there are incidents whereby airplanes even get missing and they are even nowhere. As it stands now, there are incidents whereby planes get missing and then there's nothing to show, not even, I wouldn't even want to mention the black box, not even the whole plane itself, it's seen. But then all the same, I also want to thank everyone also who was here. I know a lot has been learned. Metromas is also ready to provide safe, affordable, and reliable transport to the people of Ghana. And then, like I said earlier on, we want to be part of Ghana's Club 100, and we can't do that alone. You as a passenger, you as a client, you as a customer is also part of the success of Metromas. Without you, we are not there. Without you, we can't move people. That is what we are mandated to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can pass the microphone, or please give Mr. Nimako a round of applause. Yes, sir. Mau. So I wanted you to talk about what cross-sector lessons from accident investigation could improve safety learnings for everyone. So how do we use your information? You know, I kept on saying you were saying flights, airplanes, but we are talking about this cross-sectorial transportation systems.
Yes, so whilst each representative was given a submission, I think at a point Metromas mentioned safety. Yeah. At a point STC mentioned safety, which drives our attention to the fact that what everyone wants is for transportation of their customers to their final destination, and for the customer to be certain that they will get there. You know, that there is a certain confidence, and this would come from data-driven analysis. And you would realize from most of what STC said that there are cameras on board, and there are a lot of innovations and initiatives that they've taken to promote that safety culture. And it's not different from the aviation industry. All the recommendations that are made after investigations are all in a bid to ensure safety. So our side, we ensure we take a lot of data. We analyze the data. We find trends from the data. And I believe if every transport agency working to transport people works with these data, not just focusing on transporting and making money, but understand that they are human beings and they have trends to the way things happen.
Yeah.
So you gather the data, you analyze the data, you try and see where there's a common fault. It's like every day at a certain point, there's something wrong. You know, just to chip this in, we were speaking with road safety, national road safety, and they mentioned black spots. There are black spots in Ghana, certain areas where, you know, it's not so good when you are passing, you know, and they mentioned some regions, which for this discussion I won't like to do, but you get to understand that if you are data-driven and you analyze, you find trends, and if you work on the trends, I'm sure you can promote safety. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. Please let's give Mau a round of applause. Thank you so much. Yes, engineer. Microphone.
What I would like to say is, it's unfortunate Road Safety Authority was not represented here. But Madam, I think that
they were supposed to be here.
If we have to ensure to reduce road carnage, as our brother said, one way is to look at the re-engineering of our roads. Government is already doing a lot in trying to rebuild some of these roads. The second thing is education. We need to educate the public on safety on our roads. And then the last thing is the enforcement bit, where the police MTTD and then the